Remen wants to know what it's like to put your hand in molten lead. That's a really spectacularly weird one. It's true. I put my hand in molten lead, and we did it on the show. And I survived because of a thing called the Leidenfrost effect. And it is basically, you might have done this in science class where you, when we had science class in the 70s, we had this ball and a ring, and the ball fit through the ring. So the ball was at the end of a metal stick, and the ring was welded to the end of a metal stick. And the ball, the ball bearing was a close fit for the inside of the ring. And then you took a blowtorch to the ball, and it wouldn't fit through the ring. And this is how you learned that things expand when they get hot. And then once you do that, you take that red hot ball and you put it in a beaker of water, and it will cool down. But before it cools down, what you'll see as you look through the beaker of water is that there's actually like an atmosphere around the molten ball. That atmosphere is steam. And what happens is water touches the ball, flashes to steam instantaneously because of how hot the surface is, and then creates effectively a barrier cloud around the ball. And that lasts until the ball is cool enough to no longer flash the water to steam. And that effect is called the Leidenfrost effect. A similar thing happens when you want to put your hands in molten lead. And supposedly, if you do it, you can do it like that. That's not super fast. That's not this. It's apparently you can do that and it will be safe. So we set up to do it in the shop. We set up a crucible of molten lead. Lead's melting point is somewhere between 600 and 700 degrees Fahrenheit. So we got it to its melting point just because we figured the cooler it is, the better. And then before we went to our fingers, we thought, let's go with some raw hot dogs first. Let's just see what effect this has on them. And maybe that will ascertain how safe this is. So we took a hot dog and did boop like this, and the hot dog was totally burnt. And we're like, that looks bad. And these are like wet hot dogs, right? So the Leidenfrost effect should have worked, but it was clearly burning the hot dog, even with the short exposure. And we were like, that's upsetting. And then we looked at the parameters, because this is an experiment that science teachers and science educators have done before. And the ones that had done it before had listed that you wanted to bring the lead to 800 degrees, which is significantly hotter than its melting point, which seems counterintuitive. You can see where this is going. So we were like, all right, let's raise the temperature to 800 degrees and see what happens to the hot dog. And lo, once the lead was at 800 degrees, the hot dog did not show any sign of any damage. That was, I want to tell you, like when we were doing the show, the idea of using the hot dogs, I think it was Jamie's idea. It was like, we didn't know what we were going to see. We hadn't done any tests about how reasonable hot dog skin is to human skin in terms of first, second, third degree burns. All of that is stuff that now I might be researching, but we didn't know how to research that back then. But here we chose this one metric by which to ascertain our safety. And in these two tests between 670 degrees Fahrenheit and 800 degrees Fahrenheit, we noticed a marked difference in the hot dog surface treatment after the attempt. I'm just, repeatedly, the show was about us being surprised by the scientific methodology and how much of the world it reveals when you're just adding a little bit of rigor. I know that if you're a working scientist, you may have complained about our lack of rigor on the show, and we were definitely below the threshold for academic rigor for our experimentation. But that's not to say we didn't have any. We had lots. It just was at the level we made the show. But even that small amount of rigor we brought to our methodology gave us so much. So I just felt a real sense of satisfaction that we saw a difference in that hot dog once it was at 800 degrees. And then we were like, yeah, I think we can do it. Can you do it? I think I can do it. You want to do it? I think I can do it. And I cheated a little. I made my hands actually wet. And then I did that. And it didn't burn me. And the most creepy thing is when you do that, at that speed, you can totally feel the water boiling against your skin. You can feel It's awful. It's amazing. I got chills just telling you about it. Yeah. No, it was a spectacular weirdness to do. Do not try this at home. Please don't take any of these parameters and try this at home. If you want to satisfy your Jones, go watch this episode. August McKenna has this lovely question that I wanted to point out. The footage of the rocket sled tests is terrifying. It looks like it's just too fast to even comprehend. What was it like witnessing in person? Rocket sled. Rocket sled was a experimental setup we used down at New Mexico Tech. Yeah. If you have kids that watch Mythbusters, they may ask you, Mommy, Daddy, how can I go to college and major in blowing shit up? And what I'm here to tell you is there's at least 3 schools I know of where you can major in blowing crap up. One is the Colorado School of Mines, the other is New Mexico Tech, and then there is another school of mines in the Dakotas, if I remember correctly. All of these are places where you can literally major in blowing stuff up. And the New Mexico Tech is where we had the rocket sled, and it was an experimental setup where they had a train track with a cart on it that was locked to the track. And you could assemble a whole bunch of rockets, and you could, I think about 200 feet of the track, you could exceed, using the rockets and firing them, you could make the cart exceed the speed of sound within 200 feet. And the first time we made it go, also, you activated this from inside a bunker with like 5-inch thick windows. And the first time we did this, I have a hard drive of every Mythbusters episode. I wish I could do memory recall and bring up this footage right now, because there's this shot of me in the bunker with Jamie going 3, 2, 1, and I'm looking out the window as this object in front of me, I mean, it's right there, breaks the speed of sound in 200 feet. So it's in a discrete enough time that I actually can conceive that it's moving, and I have never, and perhaps will never, see anything move that fast again in that short a period of time. And it so overwhelmed my brain that I drooled. And this big drool came out of my mouth. So what you see when you watch that episode is I go, oh, that was amazing. So yeah, it freaking totally affected me to see that thing break the speed of sound in such a short distance. The New Mexico Tech people were so much fun to play with. We shot several episodes down there over the years, including our very final 5,001-pound Ampho explosion of the cement truck that wrapped out all 14 seasons of Mythbusters. We shot that with New Mexico Tech. That single explosion destroyed 3 rental cars. Yeah. I love that question, August. Thank you for that. 91 Kavinsky is a pilot, and they recently landed at Moffett Airfield, where NASA Ames is located. You can see Moffett Airfield as you're driving down 101 from San Francisco south. What you'll notice are these giant airship hangars, blimp hangars. And we filmed in one of them, Hangar 2, I believe, which is entirely made out of redwood and is, I'm trying to remember the actual number. I think it's 240 feet from the center to the top of the roof arch. 230 feet. For reference, if you've ever been to, I think it's the largest Gothic cathedral in America, the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City, which is up on like 112th Street. I think it's 212 feet to the top of their arch. And that building is like one of the most awe-inspiring buildings I've ever been in. The blimp hangar at Moffett Field. Oh, anyway, so the question is, they're huge. What was your first impression of those hangars, and how was it when you worked in them over various myths? Amazing. We shot Concrete Airplane there. We shot Folded Piece of Paper there. We shot a few other stories, and it was always a phenomenal building. A couple things about that building. One is it was a kilometer long. No. 1,200 feet. 1,200 feet. A third of a kilometer long. Is that right? Yeah, half of a kilometer long. Still so long and so high that your perception of what's in the building is super warped. And the example I'll give you is standing at the entrance of one side and looking 1,200 feet down to the other entrance, which is open. And then the building is, again, 24 stories high, open space. And there's stuff in the corners. There's like lots of debris in the corners, like there isn't any open shed. But the stuff in the corners, when you get close to it, is stuff like an Apache helicopter or a Blue Angels Hornet jet. I'm not kidding. Like from the entrance, that looked like detritus. And then you got up close to it, it was like full-size jets. That's how big this building is it made actual jets look like dust in the corner. The other thing about those buildings is they are so big that it was the first time I experienced what I like to call reverse vertigo. What I now think is a small tinge of megalophobia. One of my favorite subreddits. I love thalassophobia. I love megalophobia. Both of those subreddits are right up my middle. So I was standing in the middle of that hangar and looking up and walking. And as I was walking, the ceiling was so far from me that it made me feel vertiginous. It gave me vertigo. Yeah, and I'd never been in a building where I felt that. The last story I want to tell you about the Redwood blimp hangar at Moffett Field is that when we were talking to the local fire marshal about the permitting, he was like, no open flames at all, no sparks at all. He said, if this building catches on fire, the fire department is showing up with pretzels and beer. That was their joke. Apparently yeah. That was part of what was so much fun about making the show, is getting to go to impossible spaces like that and getting to hang out in them and get to know them. Another one that was kind of like that was when we were, we shot a helium football in the same location. But another story that involved big interiors that blew my mind was the Batman. We did a Batman protection suit where Jamie and I got to stand behind the jet of a 747 and try and stand as long as possible. Oh my God, that was so much fun.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to Tested membership and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.